Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. Today, we're going to be looking over the main reason why I made the whole series. So today, we're going to be dealing with our sessions and how to add data to sessions and how to remove data from sessions. And yeah, let's start with it. So what we have done so far is that we created a session using JWT token. We added a Prisma adapter to store whenever a new user logs in to our website to store the data of that user into our database. We're using MySQL Server uh, with the XAMPP control panel, and now we're gonna edit the session, right? So we know how to read the session on the front end, that is to use the use session hook. Now we're gonna add that session. You may know, like, we always have, we just don't want email, username, I mean the name, the email, and what else do we have? The image. Yeah, these are not the only things that we need are in our session. We also need some other stuff about the user. So in our case, we added a column in our database to check whether, to see whether a user is an admin or not. So if you check our schema over here, so we had this column that we added. It was admin, so it's gonna be either true or false. So if it's a true, then the person is an admin. If it's a false, then he's not. So today we're gonna add the admin field, and at the same time we're also gonna remove the email from the session. So if you sign in, let's see what do we have here. So if I go to localhost, so localhost here, I think the server isn't running yet. I forgot to run the server, and npm run dev. Let's take a look. So we're gonna run the server. We're gonna refresh the page. Here we go. And then we go to /API /auth/sign in, and we're gonna sign in with GitHub. There we go. Now we have successfully signed in. So if I go to /home, we will see all our data. Right now, we want to remove the email because, of course, I have to edit it out, put a blurry mark on it every time when I want to upload. So we're just going to completely remove the email. And instead of email, we're going to have a admin property with either true or false. So how do we do that? First, we have to see how the life cycle sort of works. So what happens when you log in? So I've kind of made a rough diagram in Excalibur that can explain this whole thing. So this is where we start. So we have a user logs in to our website. So a user goes to API/sign in and clicks on this button, right? What happened after that? So after that, when the user logs in, a JWT is generated. Now this JWT is generated by Next.js. We don't generate this JWT. It's automatically is generated. It has the expiration date, it has some data, some properties that we don't really need to worry about unless you really want to work with that. After the JWT is generated, we then the JWT is passed into a callback function. Right now, this is where you can handle your own logic. So for example, if you do want to edit that JWT, they give you the functionality. They give you a place where you can put your logic to edit that JWT, to read or edit, right? So in this callback that you get all sorts of information. So in callback, we get all the information of user, like its account or platform. So for example, if I logged in with GitHub, I will get whatever GitHub is providing, right? And also the database record. So we also get the information, the record from our database, right? So in JWT callback, we get everything. Then what happens is the JWT is then next dot does something and generates a session, right? Now how it does it, we don't need to know. And yeah, it does it. It creates a session, like it creates this session that we have right here. So when we log in, and when we go to our home page /home, this thing right here is generated. This whole data is generated, right? And after this is generated, Next.js gives us a callback to handle that session. Just like JWT token, they gave us a callback where we can edit the JWT The same goes with the session. They give you a session callback where you can edit the session. So in this session, we get a generated session that Next.js is generated, like in the previous step. In the callback, we get that session, and also we get the JWT token here. Like these are the two things that we really need most of the time. So let's see. If you want to know more about this, you can always go into Next.auth.js and go over to configurations instead of the callbacks. You will get everything here. They will let you know like what do we get in JWT callback, what kind of things we get. You get a token, you get a count. Now this account is the GitHub profile, and this is also the GitHub profile. And you can get another object here. If you put a comma and then ask for a user, you will get the database entry. Okay, so token, account, profile, and a user, which is your database row. Okay, and in the session callback, we get a session, we get a token, and a user. Now this user will mostly be empty if you're using JWT strategy. I'm pretty sure they've told this here when using database sessions. Yeah, if you're using database sessions, in our case we're not. If you're using database sessions, you will get a user here, and I'm pretty sure it's the database user, the user in your database. So let's implement this. For this, we're gonna go over to VS Code. Inside of our app API Next.auth, we're gonna open the route, the main Next.auth file. In here, in the Auth options, we're gonna create a new property, callbacks. It's gonna be an object, and this is where you define the body of your functions, of your callback functions, right? So you can look up the functions we have. So if I go up here, you will see we have these 4 functions. So sign in. This should return a boolean. So if you return a false, once the user logs in, even after authorizing, you can stop him from logging in. So this is usually used when you want to check whether a person is like valid. So let's say if your website has a blocking system. So if the user is blocked, you can just return false from here. Otherwise, you can return true. This happens. This function runs when you are redirected. And these are the 2 we want to look at. So we're gonna first try to use the session and try to edit it. So I'm gonna copy the whole thing. I'm gonna paste it here. We're gonna get this session generated by Next.auth here. The user should be empty because we're not using the database strategy of, session strategy of database. See? So in JW, if you have database, you will get the database record of user here. But we're not using that, so we're gonna get a null or undefined maybe. Right? We're gonna get nothing here. And then we also get the token, the generated JWT token. So let's console log all of these things. So session of a session. I'll do 3 console logs, session, user, and then also token. There we go. It's going to print it right away. So because we have this information at the moment, so it just spits it out. So as you can see, we have a session. Inside of the session object, we have a user object with everything that we can see in the front end. See, we got the name, we got the email, we got the image. Perfect. Then we also have the user, which is undefined, as I said before. It should not exist because we're not using the database strategy. Then we also have the token, which is generated by Next.auth. So we have in the token, we have a name, email, the picture of my, and then we have more stuff, a bunch of stuff here. Okay. So our goal is to remove the email from the session. So let's do that real quick. First, I'm gonna close this, and we're gonna come over here. And if we go over to our browser, right? And if I go to home page, I should see my session. Currently, there is a name, there is an email, and there is an image. Let's remove the email. So how should we do that? Let's do that real quick. We're gonna say, oh yeah, one thing I didn't told you guys is that these callback functions, both JWT and session functions, should return a thing. And what should they return? A session callback should return a session, right? And a JWT callback should return a JWT token. So remember that. So need to make sure there is a return statement here that returns the session. Whether it's a new session, like updated new object, or whether it's the same one that you had before. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say delete. I'm going to say session.user.email. So I'm going to remove this property completely. So if I go over here, I do a refresh. Let's see what we have. Boom, it's gone. The email is gone now. There's no more any email. Perfect. I don't have to edit it out anymore. Next, we want to add the admin field. Now, we don't have the user here, right? How you can do a lot of things, like you can query your database manually here. I don't recommend that because in the previous step to this, if you recall, the previous step was the JWT callback, right? So this from here, we actually get the user information, like the database entry. We just get it there. And we know for a fact that whatever goes in here will come over here. See? So if you make any changes to JWT token, you can always find the JWT in here. This is the JWT token. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some data to the token and then use it in the session. So the easiest way to do this is to copy this whole thing and then paste it here, right? So this is the JWT callback. We don't need account. Let's remove that. We don't need to see this. We don't need to see whether it's a new user or not. We just need the token and we need the user. Now, as I said before, this user is actually the user record in our database. So let's check that. Currently it's undefined because this you will get this this will be null in subsequent calls. It will only exist, it will only come once and then it will just disappear. So let's relog in. So when you log in, that's where you're gonna get this. So API/auth/sign in, and if I sign in, hopefully, if I go to home, we're logged in. If I go over here, you can see, there are so many undefined, but we did get the record here. This is the record of our database. Perfect. So we got all of that in here. Let's close this. And what we're going to do is we're going to append the data to the token. So let's say I'm going to say token.user. Or actually, first we have to check if a user exists, right? So we're going to check if the user exists, then token.admin, set the token.admin to be user.admin, right? And then return that token. We made some modification and then we return it. And hopefully we'll get this here, right? Then what we can do in here, we can just say session.user.admin. I just can't type these days. Admin equals to token.admin. That's it. That's all we have to do. And if I go over to the other side, we will hopefully see an admin field. Let's refresh this. Or actually we won't see it because, you know, it's undefined right now. So we have to relog in again. So API/auth/sign in. I'm going to sign in. Then we go over to home. And there it is. Admin equals false. Perfect. We managed to update our both JWT and the session. We added the JWT to have a admin property, and then we updated the session to remove the email and instead append a new property of admin. Now remember, it is always suggested that you append it to user data, because if it's a user data, then you should be appending it to user. So for me, it was user data because admin property is users. So yeah, that's all you have to do. Now, there are other things you can do, of course, and if you have any questions of whether what you should do, or you have any tips of what I should be doing, like better recommendations, please do let me know. Yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thank you for watching.